good afternoon or evening or morning, wherever you are. So this is my second attempt at live streaming, and apparently I haven't spoken to another human so far today, and therefore I can't speak. So let me get my mouth warmed up. Today, as I alluded to in both the description and on Twitter, this is probably not going to be the most exciting thing I've ever done. I am working on a much needed overhaul of the way that compilers and libraries and other incidental executables are installed into Compiler Explorer on the Amazon site. The main thing about this is that it has been very flaky of recent times. We've got somewhere in the region of 250 gig of compilers, and I really want to make sure that I can, if God forbid we lose the compilers, we can get them back. So it's got to be something I can get back if there's a problem or we lose the drive or anything like that. I mean, there are backups, there's all sorts of things, but I much prefer a setup where I can just run a script and get it back again. It's also convenient because I can run the same script locally and I get all the compilers installed on my local machine. And as most of them are open source, you can do that too. You can run the scripts and get them installed on your machine if you have a couple of 100 gigs spare. Now, the way that they're currently installed is to use a shell script, which is okay, but it's grown and grown and grown, and now it's around about 3,000 lines of bash, and that's not really maintainable, especially with my level of understanding of how bash works. The script itself runs daily to pick up daily built compilers, as well as just ensure everything else is already installed on the network drive that the compilers live on. And we're getting more and more emails from cron telling us, us being the Compiler Explorer implementers and administrators, there's 3 or 4 of us, getting more and more emails telling us that it failed. And with bash it just fails halfway through and the script stops, which is not ideal. So I'd much rather have a more controlled, programmatic experience that makes it easy for me to both install things locally and a subset of those things. At the moment the shell scripts just install everything all the time with a tiny hack for nightly compilers. So I'd like to make sure that I can install a subset of the compilers. Maybe if you're interested in installing compilers, you can install just a subset of them too, maybe just all the GCCs. Obviously this only works on Linux. This is an Ubuntu install of those compilers, but it probably works on most modern Unix distributions, Linux distributions. The other sort of ulterior motive to this, as well as just getting rid of a whole bunch of shell script that I don't like to look at, is that installing the libraries is mostly header-only stuff. So for the vast majority of those libraries, it's just a whole bunch of Git clones in a particular place. And one of our more asked for features is to support libraries on the Windows builds. Now, the Windows builds are administrated by Microsoft, and they don't currently have a way. I mean, they could use Windows subsystem for Linux, which would probably work, but it would be nice to have something like Python which can just say, hey, here's a bunch of things that I need you to check out at these locations on the disk, and then they could run that on their node, and their node would then also have header files available to it, which would mean that we get library support in the Windows compilers, which we just don't have at the moment. There's probably other work as well that needs to be done. I'm really hoping that that Microsoft will be able to commit some resources to helping me on this, as I kind of willfully have washed my hands of... oh, hello, Kat. Do you want to say hello to everybody? This is Sarafina. Hello. Oh, it's raining outside. Thank you. Now I'm going to be wet all over. Yeah, so Microsoft also need to do some work on their side. As I say, I kind of willfully washed my hands of administrating a Windows system, as I'm just not... I don't have the skills for it. But they have been very, very helpful. There is a bug of, that you can go... if you're interested in this, go there. Find the issue in GitHub, and there is a link to somewhere where you can vote on the importance of this within Microsoft's own system, and then they can get to work on their side of things too. Anyway, without further ado, I'm going to sort of crack on with this. It's worth noting, actually, just as a point of interest, that there are 2 main repositories for all the Compiler Explorer stuff. There is, first of all, the MacGobo Compiler Explorer repo, which has the actual code for Compiler Explorer itself, all the Node stuff and all of the front end and HTML nonsense. Then the infrastructure behind the scenes is in this Compiler Explorer image repository, which is also open source and has it's sort of a junk drawer of things, but there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of documentation here. If you're interested in using the logo, you can go and grab the logo here. It's got all of the various different bits and pieces. There's various pieces of documentation about how to add compilers, and so oftentimes people will send me a pull request to add a new compiler, which you can do yourself. So for example, explore apps. Yes, I'm not interested in it right now. So yeah, here we go. This is somebody, and rather embarrassing that I haven't reviewed this yet, and it looks like it's been there for 6 days. This is somebody who is adding a new library, and all that they have done, quite reasonably, is add a line to this install libraries.sh. So this is the thing that I'm going to be replacing once I get started today. And it looks like that it's a pretty straightforward copy, paste, change the obvious bits and pieces. So there, we've added a new library to Compiler Explorer. I merged this. Thanks. Actually, before I merge it, I'm going to just check in the base over here in Compiler Explorer proper. I'm going to check inside the pull requests here to see if there's a pull request on the other side. So if you add a library, you first of all need to add the installation of that library into like the into the image repository, and then secondarily you have to add a set of changes to the Compiler Explorer configuration so that it knows to look for that library. So that there doesn't appear to be something here. So I'm going to say thanks. We'll add the relevant configuration to, and then if I do this, it should link it, I think, Compiler Explorer 2. And let's put that comment there. Did it link? Nope, that didn't link. Well, never mind. Let's merge that in. Now, I've actually sort of merged this into the old system. I haven't actually started any of the libraries yet in the new system, but I'll have to remember to go back and do a final pass that anyone who's added any compiler or library since I started porting things over to the Python will need to make sure that we haven't lost them in this change. So I'm going to git pull locally on that Compiler Explorer image. You can see the install libraries thing has changed there, and I'm just going to run this locally to make sure it still works. And actually, I don't think I've done this recently, so I'm not going to bore you by looking through it. Let's just actually do it on the machine. So I think I said last time, if you were following me, that all of this stuff is done through an administration machine, and we have this CE binary, which is in this bin directory here. So I have this bin directory pathed up, and there's this CE install list compilers log to JSON. Just these are like miscellaneous commands. So on my local machine, I have these pathed up, so I can run ce-help. And there you go, you get a whole bunch of things. Now, as it happens, I can't access the nodes directly from my computer. I have to go in through an administration machine. So I'm just going to do that now by doing cc-mosh. And mosh, I mentioned this last time round, is a shell system, which is like a much more smart and mobile aware shell program. It sort of sends a picture of an ASCII picture effectively, and synchronizes a picture of a remote terminal rather than sending all of the intermediate updates. So it's much faster if you're like accidentally ls-ling some giant directory. And it also it recovers from you changing your local IP address. So I close my laptop lid and I go somewhere else and I go to like a coffee shop, open it up, and it just reconnects and carries on, and there's no as if I wasn't there. So it's brilliant for that. Has a certain amount of like type ahead work. So when I'm commuting on the train to work, I usually tether to my Pixel, and then from that oh hello, CE alert terminating. So a Compiler Explorer instance is just scaled down. Yeah, I usually tether to my cell phone, and so it's obviously a bit laggy if I'm administrating the machine. Then it's nice to have something which allows me to at least see the feedback of the keys that I've typed before they've even made it back well to the server and back again. So I'm just going to do c-mosh admin. Oh, and I'm typing in the wrong window, and I've been distracted by getting a text message by somebody. All right, c-mosh admin. Please to waiting. Hooray. Okay, so now we're logged into the admin node. So now actually on one of the administrative node in AWS, where everything runs. Apparently a system restart is required. Now, we don't run anything directly from the command line. I'm actually going to attach to a tmux session, which is like a screen session for those who've used that kind of thing before. That's so that if there are any of the other admins logged in, they can see what I'm doing, and I can see that they're logged in and that kind of stuff. So boom, right? And this also carries on my session from wherever I left it off before, and you can see I've been sort of playing around with this stuff before. So I'm going to skip pull on here. Actually, if you notice carefully while I'm typing, it's not doing it now, but it was doing a little bit of type ahead for me. I am a little bit, excuse me, I'm maybe 1,000 miles from the data center here, so you know, speed of light, this stuff. I'd be interested to know actually what the latency is. I guess I could find out. I'm going to get distracted. Anyway, so the install libraries is there. So I'm going to now run install libraries.sh, but sadly for reasons that need to be changed, we need to do this as root. Obviously running arbitrary bash scripts as root is not an ideal situation, but there we go. Alright, so it's going to go and do a bunch of stuff here. Some of these are not as idempotent as I'd like them to be. For example, the one we're seeing now, this CMC STL, takes a little while to go. But while that's going, I'm going to go to the Compiler Explorer repo. So this is the image repo, and then I'm going to go over to the Compiler Explorer repo here, and you can see where we are in this if I find the doohickey. Oh, if you can hear screaming children in the background, I live opposite a school, and so it's just playtime. Okay, so everything is in these Amazon.properties files, which are another catastrophe I need to fix at some point, because they're just huge and easy to get wrong. So I'm going to add this library. Let's go and find out what the library was called. And of course I've closed the pull request, so I can't see it anymore. So let's get rid of that. PegTL. Excellent. Okay, and we can find out where it is. It's going to be lib/pegtl. And it looks like it, yes, okay, libs/pegtl, oops, and now back over to, sorry, my Alt-Tab screen appears on my side screen over here along with all of the other junk that I don't actually want to share with you right now. So every time I Alt-Tab I have to look over there to see what I'm Alt-Tabbing to. Let's just add it here, so we know libs.pegtl and .name equals, and it looks like it's shoutcaps pegtl. I guess we should at least go to dowlcpp pegtl here on GitHub. That's what that is, a shorthand for that thing, and we should probably find out what this thing's all about. Parsing, oh yes, that sounds like a good thing to grab for the name. So we're going to go back over here. Pegtl equals that libs.pegtl.description. Can't type equals the thing we just stole from there, libs.pegtl.url equals, and then we're going to steal the URL, and my computer is chugging for some reason. I mean, it is, in fairness, it is encoding this video and recording it at the same time as well, so it's putting in a bit of heat over here, but it's alright. It's all but a wee laptop. I'm going to steal those completely and do the usual pegtl. Right. Show some of the IDE features I've learnt to use. We can do multi-line edits like that. And what was the version? Again, back now to the pull request. So it looks like we're getting versioned and trunk. So this is a macro within the bash files which gets both the trunk version, and that will get updated daily, and version 2.8.0. which appears to just be 2.8.0. Now, hopefully when the synchronization is finished in the window on the right-hand side here, in fact, there it goes. It's just finished. So, I'm going to take a look now onto opt compiler explorer libs pegtl, all in shout case, and we have just a 2.8.0. That's interesting. Versioned and trunk. Doesn't look like it actually got the trunk version, so I'm sort of glad I checked. I'm not sure why it didn't get the trunk version. So let's have a look at one of these other ones. See, that has trunk, C star, which is the one I picked on that because it's the one that's ahead here. C star dash blah blah blah. So interestingly, the GitHub versioned and trunk has not worked for this. So I'm going to use the scroll back to try and work out what happened there. Oh, because it wasn't night. So yeah, there's a hack here. Oh dear. And this is another thing I really want to change, because now I'm going to have to run this with -- nightly, I think is the right magical thing to put in here. Yes, nightly is nightly. Oh no, it's not -- nightly, it's just nightly, darn it. See, I could really do with the help file here, and I could really do with just running the things for only the this one library. But anyway, we're gonna set it off in its merry way once again, and this time it's doing a nightly update. The nightly update includes all of the trunk versions, which normally doesn't happen because without it should be idempotent. It isn't. Again, more things I'm going to fix. Although I'm running out of time already for things like this. It's amazing how much time all this stuff takes. Although it's useful for me to go over it and make sure it's okay. It takes longer when I'm explaining it too. Not a problem though. So anyway, that should now end up with a trunk and a 2.8.0 version, and I'm going to create a new window on the server so that while that's running still here, we're going to have a look in Compiler Explorer, libs, and pegtl, and it's 2.8.0, and then it looks like there's just an include directory. I'm assuming that that's the one we're gonna put that as like the top level include path for this library. So back to me. I'm on a horse. So trunk equals trunk. We know that there will be a trunk when this finishes, and oh, we need to actually list these versions somewhere. This is tbb.versions. I'm going to steal that line. That comes under here, and that's going to be pegtl.versions equals trunk and 2.8.0. So trunk, and this is going to be opt compiler libs shoutcat pegtl trunk include, and then this one will be actually I typically get rid of the periods here, or the dots, 280. Excuse me. So let's do some more smart editing of these two things here. If I can remember the keys, there we go. 28e, oh no, dot versions dot 280 dot version dot equals, well, that's about all I can usefully do with that cool feature. 2.8.0, and we know this is going to be 2.8.0 trunk include. Excellent. Okay, I am actually going to run this locally in another tel. So this is on my local machine now I'm running, and this is where I really wish I had finished the feature I'm working on right now, because I haven't got any of these things locally right now, and I'm about to try and sync them all down, and I didn't want to sync them all down. I just want to sync down this pegtl because I want to run this locally and test to make sure it works okay. So that's a bit unfortunate. So I'm probably going to do something a bit naughty here, where, oh golly, see, this takes forever, this process when you do the nightly build. I'm probably going to wing this, which is horrible, and we don't really have tests for all this configuration, which would be lovely. Yes, I'm going to wing it. So I will just, let's just eyeball this. So before I check in anything, let's just run meld, which will hopefully open up in the right directory, and hopefully we'll find the differences I've just made here. I don't know what's going on here. Compiler Explorer image. I has changed things. Why do you not find the changings? Git status. Alright. When you made a change, or so you think, and then the compiler, or rather the Git tells you haven't changed anything, this is when you worry about what did I actually change. So this is c++.amazon.com in. Now Control-Shift-C copies the path. What is the path of this? Home dev etc config c++.amazon.properties. Oh, it's in Compiler Explorer. Ah, phew. There we go. That'll be why. Git status. Now we're making sense. Image in Explorer. Yeah, whatever. Yes, one file changed exactly as expected. Let's run meld and see if it makes sense. Okay, so we have added a library, but nobody knows about this library. So we need to add it to the list of all libraries as well. Right, before I do that, let's just make sure this makes sense. We've got name, description, versions, and URL, which is what everyone else has. Name, description, versions, and URL. Brilliant. Name is pegtl. This makes sense. Trunk 80. Ranch name like that in the front. Yeah, thank you. So I'm being asked, somebody is saying error in configuration libs 2.0. Trunk. Oh, I for pegtl. I will look at that in a second. I'm not quite sure I follow. Hi those people who've just joined. which prompt is running my fish shell? I've actually, someone asked me this last time, I've shared it now. If you go to my GitHub repository and look for my dot files, you'll see that I've actually put my fish shell there. It's based on one of the built-in fish ones, I think, but I've hacked it over the years to add in some extra things like how long the last command took to run, that kind of stuff, so you can have a look on there. Sorry, I forget that I'm not just talking crazily to myself, I am actually talking to you fine folks. And trunk and 280 trunk version, trunk path, version path. See, look, this annoys me now. Why did I do that? That's better, isn't it? Oh no, no, it was right the first time. Version path, good. Right, let's just go and add it to the list of all libraries. Libraries, more libraries. You can see why I don't like this configuration file format. Let's go at the end of this, pegtl. Excellent, save, close all of that nonsense. Brilliant. That all looks good. I now need to have a quick look at what was said about the error in my configuration. I will definitely check that. So this is pegged. Aha! Yes. Thank you. You're absolutely right. Thank you. Aha! This is, even though I was looking at it in the diff view, you can't see it. This is why I really need to test this locally, don't I? So, how are we doing with my local install? It's still on boost, which is like really near the beginning. And that's still going over there. That's just generally quite dreadful. But I tell you what we will do is I will just run ls on the admin node on those two directories. Brilliant. That would get me the towel. So thank you, Philip. No, not Philip. Carol. Thank you for pointing me at that particular issue. I'm sorry it took me a moment to realise what you were getting at. And then this we're going to have to wing because it's just not there at the moment, and I don't want to hang on for this forever. So, but I think that looks right. It's both in the pegtl directory, and it's both. We're just changing the trunk to 2.8.0, which seems to be right. Okay. I'm going to cross my fingers and hope that this is okay. So let's go back over to my local shell that isn't running all of this, and git add it, git commit -m, add pegtl, and then we're going to go and find that pull request in, that's the wrong wet window, this one over here. So this is the mat godbolt / compiler explorer image oh dear me, typing is hard today. Image hash 197. Now I'm pretty sure that that will work. I've got a git commit hook thanks to Ruben, which makes sure that I haven't broken anything too obvious before everything commits in. There's a makefile target if you're interested in playing along at home. If you just run make, what is it called? I'll have a look in a second. It'll install the git hooks anyway, but obviously just take that with a pinch of salt. Running arbitrary scripts that you pull down off the internet is not necessarily wise. Nice cup of tea. And these errors that you can see, rather unfortunately, are expected errors. They're like us testing the error system, and it still prints the stood error actually in this instance, which is unfortunate. But if the test passes at the end and it says everything's fine, everything's fine. So actually, let's have a quick look at the make file. Where is it? Install git hooks is the make for that. And I need my friend Ben has an awesome like auto docking make file thing, which I should look up now. Let's see, Ben Rady make file documentation. Let's see if we can find it very quickly because it's super cool. No, all right, I will have to ask him. In fact, I might reach out to him right now over. No, he's not there. All right. Anyway, if he was just there, I would ask him. But there's a really cool thing I should probably do, which makes it, if you just type make on its own or make doc, it shows you all the make file targets and sort of a help file. It's like make -- help kind of thing. All right, that's enough of that. So we can git push now. Oh, except we can't because I didn't git pull. Let's do a rebase pull. I typically do rebase pulls manually. So that's that, and we're going to git push that now. All is well. Now, as we're here, and we haven't done any programming of any sorts here, it's all been administration, I might as well keep on this and just show you what's going on now. So behind the scenes there's Travis. Travis should notice that push. Oh, unfortunately you're exposed to what I was doing immediately prior to this, which was trying to get Travis working for a brand new project, C++ project that I was working on, which is sort of an exploration of some idea I have for a talk to do in the future. Have I considered signing my commits? No, I haven't, and I really should. I was forced to do it at my last job, and it was easier than I had feared. I should do it. I'm going to make it out on a list. Thank you, Carol. Sign commits. Yeah, it was a lot easier than I thought to get that set up. Yeah, sort of a make help type thing. Yeah, that's right. I mean, it doesn't have a rule here, but effectively it just greps itself and finds the all of the main targets, and there's a sort of special comment that you put on a particular line, and it outputs kind of a useful thing. But it was just like it's a lovely one-liner. I'm going to find Ben now while we wait for this to work. How are you, Ben? What's your cunning makefile doc help thing? Right, if he gets back to me, we'll put it in. Hooray. Anyway, while we're going, so what's happening now is Travis has picked up on my change, and Travis runs not only all of the tests and everything. Upon success, it will publish to S3 a tarball of the kind of finished working compiler explorer thingamajig, distribution, I suppose. And let's go into AWS and I'll show you where that lands. And I need to re-enable two-factor authentication. Unfortunately, there was a confusion where I had two-factor authentication enabled, and it broke my account for a number of days. And thankfully, Amazon were really good. They actually phoned me to fix it up, which was awesome. But it wasn't awesome that it happened in the first place. It kind of got tangled up with my consumer account, which I have got to. Oh, never mind. Anyway, S3 EC2. Where is this going to go? S3. So there are very many places on S3 where Compiler Explorer things end up. One such thing, you can see all my other crazy projects in here, Compiler Explorer, and you see this one's public because the vast majority of stuff in the Compiler Explorer interface here is in fact public, and you should be able to go and get it. There's cool things, there's compilers and things in there, which is how you can go and get and install the compilers yourself without being logged in. And this stuff goes into dist, and then Travis dumps. These are based on branch names, so master is obviously branch names. Here is like the most recent few builds. They're just tarballs with a little bit of metadata outside of them so that my script's going to go and find what versions are what. And has that covered enough time for this to have finished? Not quite. Well, we'll see what happens there, and I'll show you how I do a site update once I get that far through. And Ben hasn't got back to me, sadly, and I should probably ought to have back to you. Questions and things. Make help must be generated by CMake. Yeah, no, this is just a general makefile trick here. There's no CMake in this particular thing, this particular project. It's all raw makefiles. The PT3 Ways project here is CMake and Conan and other cool things, which I'm trying to make it nice, but it's not working yet, and I'm infuriated. But that's the default state, right? All makefile and build manipulation stuff is infuriating because it's kind of gets in the way of you actually doing the job that you want to be able to do. That's why nobody likes it. Okay, well that's going to take longer than I thought. In fact, we can go and see how long it usually takes. I think it's about 6 minutes. Come on, build history. Oh, 4 minutes. Well, in which case I will just talk to myself for another 35 seconds or so, and we might actually be able to cover it, and I'll do at least a beta site update. So while we're here, I can talk a little bit about that. You probably know that Compiler Explorer has this beta version, and the beta version is inappropriately named, really. It's not a beta test. It's not like you're going to go on there and test some crazy new feature that's not out there, at least not yet. Later on this week I shall hopefully be announcing what I'm going to be working on all in May. But the beta site is more like a staging environment for me. It's where I'll deploy things first before I risk deploying it to the production environment, which will actually affect you fine folks from doing stuff on Compiler Explorer. So at the moment it's almost exactly the same version. So if I go on to how are we doing here? That's still synchronizing, gosh. But so the CE tool that I was running locally to log into the admin node is also installed on the admin node, so I should be able to run CE there as well. And now I can administrate things better. So let's just do CE builds list. And we'll see effectively the same information we saw in the S3 console where all those tarballs were, except my little script which manages it. So at the moment you can see that the current version in beta, which is the default environment that I modify when I'm using these CE commands, is pointing at build 4031. This is what this dash 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 thingy is. This is the current build here, and here are some other builds that have happened subsequently. And so shortly, when this build finishes, if it hasn't already, hooray, it has in fact. So 4038 is the new good build. So the way that Compiler Explorer works, and someone's just asking how the the sort of the back end is configured. It's mostly done in Terraform. There are some Terraform scripts inside the Compiler Explorer image, which describes, I would say, probably 80%. There are some things that I haven't yet moved over to it. It's like one of those things where if you get it wrong, it's going to be very bad for you. But in here is all of the configuration for most of the configuration. Sorry, the configuration for the configuration? The configuration for most of the different aspects of S3 and AWS and EFS and all those kind of things. So that's where most of that stuff lives. Then I also use Packer and Docker to kind of make the images. So this admin machine over here, I can pretty much tear down and build up again from scratch if I need to. Likewise, the individual images themselves. So the base machine images are pretty straightforward. They pretty much just install Docker, and then Docker runs, and Docker runs this tarball that it pulls down. So I don't have to keep rebuilding a Docker container every time. It's just to get away from Docker a little bit. Maybe it doesn't make sense, I don't know. But anyway, so what I need to do now is that there is a magic file that tells the nodes when they start up which tarball to pull down and run. And at the moment that node is pointing at 4031 here. And so I'm now going to say builds set current 4038, or 4038, which is the version that we have just built over here. And I can kind of just confirm it by saying yes, pegtl 4038. So set current, and there's all sorts of are you sures here, so I have to say yes, it's beta, and yes, that's from the master branch because we have made mistakes before. So it's better to have more typing and like human, no, did you really mean to do this? So now I've just changed that file. Excuse me, my cats are doing something in the background. Oh, they're alright, it's just a bag. I hope. They brought in a bunny on Easter morning, and it's a very unfortunate way for my children to learn that the Easter bunny was not actually a real thing. They're alright. Yeah, so we've changed that. So all we've done is we've changed like a symlink effectively. The way that I kind of make that take is, well, first of all I can say instances, and this will list, not instances list, this will list status. I can't remember how to use my own tools. So this is just going to run off in the beta environment, and it will find the one instance that's running in the beta environment, and it's running version 4031, as we know. So I'm just going to restart, and this is going to have some more are you sures. This is beta. Yes, I'm cool. It's beta. I don't have to like worry about this too much. And now it goes into some boring, like long, take the things out of the load balancer, restart everything, essentially just a sudo service compiler explorer restart, which just gets a new tarball and does all the needful things. And then the scripts here wait until it comes back up and it reports healthy before it moves on to the next instance. So in theory, right now the beta site is down because there's only one instance, and by design we don't try and keep this up, it's just expensive. And I've just got a text alert which tells me that something has changed. Yep, that's this. So at the moment we're going to get HTTP 503. You'll notice the rest of the thing, the rest of the web page loaded up okay. That's because we have CloudFront in front of the pretty much everything. So all this is coming from the cache right now, and the cache timeouts are not particularly long. And you can see that the message of the day has changed to be site is being updated, and shortly this will start working again. So right now there is just the one thing that CloudFront can't cache, of course, is the actual posts to do the compilation on the back end. So that is going to fail. But that's cool because this is the beta side and I'm allowed to do this. Oh, ha! Okay, now you're going to get to see me debug this. That's unfortunate. So this instance failed. It returned a non-zero exit statement. Now, what we've been having recently is some problems with disk space. So I would guess it's that. Let's go over to EC2. Now normally, the normal way I do this is I would do C instances login, but if we now look at the C instances list, oh gosh, what is it? C instances status, we should probably see that it's not even there, because unfortunately it's been taken out while it was being updated. So I have to go manually this way. And we'll go and find the node, and we find the beta node, and we go, there's your pub, we can use the private DNS here, and we're going to just SSH to that chap, or lady. Here we are. So now we're actually on one of the compiler explorer nodes. And apparently 123 packages can be listed. Okay, let's look at, I should actually show you another way that I do this. So I'm logging into it now just because I'm right at my keyboard, and I'm in the middle of it all, but Paper Trail is my usual go-to for debugging these things if I'm like at work and I haven't got time to log into things. So this essentially is tailing the log file of all of the machines that are running, and I can go and find Unified Beta, which is the name of the beta site here, search for it, and pretty quickly I get to see something that happened. So it stopped and it didn't start again. Well, that's interesting. It didn't tell me anything here, but so I'm going to run sudo docker ps here, and we've got, that's from full screen, so it's full size it. So none of the Docker images that would normally be running are running. We've just got log spout, which is something which looks at the output and posts it over to the paper trail thing. So that has not worked. And then, oh gosh, I do have trouble getting on with, yeah, exactly. I do have troubles getting on with systemd. Is it AWS sending those text notifications? Yes, it is. I have that set up for. Yeah, look, there you go. Well, while we're here, error processing tile, no space left on device. Well, that's unfortunate. So I need to go and find some space on this machine. This is the beta machine. It's pretty much it's been up for years. This one. The other machines come and go as load goes up and load goes down. So they kind of naturally recycle through machines. But this one has been here for a while. See how long it has been up for actually. Oh, only 44 days. Not as long as I thought. But yeah, anyway, so AWS sends me those notifications through whatever their product name is for sending notifications, and you can pick a cell phone as a destination for that. And actually costs me money, which is one of the more surprising things. Like, surely text messages are free these days? But it's convenient to have it because otherwise I might not know that a site is down when I'm not expecting it. So let's just run df and do some horrendous, like, what the hell's going on here stuff. Apparently 87% free. I'm surprised, but this is it telling me that there's no space left on device for the tar file. Well, this has taken a turn rather, hasn't it? I was hoping to show you like my amazing Python skills, and so far you're seeing how bad a Unix administrator I am. So we apparently have 1.3 gig free. I wonder if, oh, it's the Docker thing, isn't it? Yes, I bet you the base Docker image has changed. We've been making some changes there, and I haven't tried rerunning the beta site recently. Oh, fabulous! Thank you, Carol. So I am going to show you how bad a programmer I am. I'm straight to Google. Docker. There is a command to clean it up. Come on, I can. Docker help. Come on. Let's not go straight to the internet. Let's try and teach ourselves a bit of memory skills, remembering our commands, how these work. Somewhere in here, I'm sure it is a command that does some kind of clean up or tidy up or something, because what we have here is lots of old Docker images, and I would like to run that command and say, hey, get rid of the things I'm not using anymore because I don't need them. So I'm going to have to use the Googles for this. And I'm sorry for those who might be already posting the results in the chat channel here. I've only got one spare screen over here to tidy up. And prune unused Docker. Cleanup. Aha! See, I can't see cleanup in there. Sudo. Whoops. Wrong. No one ever had a problem typing sudo into the wrong terminal, right? Sudo docker cleanup is not a Docker command. Okay, well then, how to clean up after Docker prune, is that the one? It's a sub command of the thing. So let's do sudo docker image prune, and I think there are some like no with extreme prejudice prune containers. Is there prune all? Prune networks, prune everything. System, there we are. System prune. Oh, or pruner. Maybe I was, yes. This will remove all things, yes. 1.2 gigabytes, wonderful. So let's do what the script would have done manually now, which is to run sudo service compiler explorer start in this instance. So fingers crossed and drum roll. Okay, I'm going to go back over to the live dashboard over here. Hello. You do have an open issue there, people are saying, yes. Docker cleaning is the worst. Yeah, thank you for Docker image prune. I'm sorry I wasn't looking at the window when I was clearly floundering around, as you can tell. Still working out how best to do this. So come on the compiler explorer. You can start this time. In fact, while this is going, we can go and should be able to see inside here. Oh, well, the Docker unified beta Docker container hasn't started up yet. But verifying checkzone download complete. Okay, so now it looks like it's working now. I can sort of just, I'm squinting. I've stared at this enough times to know roughly what it looks like when it's starting up. It's unpacking things. That's lovely. Brilliant. So if I now did a sudo docker ps, we have, yeah, run.sh is running, and now we should be able to look at varlog syslog and see that yes, okay, now all it is doing, it is the startup script basically runs node and then keeps polling the 10240 port that it really runs on to see what's going on before it declares victory and says that the node is now healthy. Unfortunately, we now need to undo some of the damage that happened as a result of the update failing. So there's not really a good recovery process yet for this, because this doesn't happen very often. I know, obviously, we're 1 for 1 right now, but generally speaking, this process has been painless. So once this has actually started up and we're serving requests and we're happy again, we now have to go into S3 manually, into the AWS console manually, and add this back into the load balancer because it was taken out while it was being updated, and also take off instance scaling protection, which is something which I put on so that even though it becomes unhealthy for a bit, it shouldn't be killed by the EC2 processes that would normally reap broken instances. So please, and I need to stop saying so. There's nothing worse than looking at your own videos and realizing quite how annoying all of your strange idiosyncrasies are. So is my current, like, #1 trying to not say it every time thing. So I think that was justified. That was a justified so. But starting every paragraph or sentence with the word so, just as a kind of like, and following on. Today in psychoanalysis, auto psychoanalysis with Matt Godbolt. Okay, that's taking longer than it normally does. Is there anything interesting going on here? Yeah, you can see what's going on. In fact, I am going to stop this and do a much more interesting do so. Sudo docker tail, the logs -f, which follows the log file of unified dash b. Oh, whoops! Ha ha ha! This is a problem. So what I've done here is seemingly started the non-beta version. Now that is really interesting to me. So it's not. Oh no, it is. Phew. The name of the image is unified, but the name of the Docker container is unified dash beta. For a minute, I thought I had mucked something up there, and not unified beta. Oh, and of course, typically, I don't know what the name of the law is, but anytime you switch from one thing to another because it's taking a long time to do the other thing, it is finished by the time you finish. By the time you switch tasks. So it has actually finished now. I was going to show you what's happening here. So when Compiler Explorer starts for the very first time, it runs every single compiler and says, what version are you? Just to kind of get a lay of the land. And if you can see how many compilers we have, this is pages and pages and pages of compilers. It actually takes quite a long time to do that. And so that was what was happening before. So we go back to what we were doing before, which is syslog, and indeed we can see that everything looks happy now. Although we're seeing the info in there. Anyway, whatever it is, it seems happy. Now we will obviously test that first of all, before I get overexcited, by going back over to, and if I could find the right window, let me press that button. There we are, this one. Let's go over here to our beta and just hit the refresh button down here, and we're still getting 503. Aha! Because it got taken out of the load balancer, so there's nobody serving any content at the moment for the beta site. So somewhere up here we have the load balancers, and there should be, come on, why are you so slow? One load balancer here, and it has target groups. So there are rules that look at the URLs coming in, and they split off the traffic. So if it has /beta, it goes off to the beta or beta servers, and that's a target group. So here we go. Here are the beta servers, and we look at the targets, and there are none at all. No targets registered to this group here. And now I have to remember where in the UI all this nonsense stuff is. 60% of the time it works every time. Yeah, exactly. Yes, you got it. So I must remind myself, I think it's in the auto scaling groups is where this stuff is administrated, somewhat paradoxically. So this is an auto scaling group for the beta instances, but so we want one instance, but we don't have any, and it hasn't started another one because it's been put in this funny mode. So in here we have something in standby, so I can now say, no, this thing is in service, it's healthy as far as this is concerned, and then we'll wait a little bit. Now we have one desired, one instances, and now once this doodad has finished spinning, doing whatever magical things happen in the back end of Amazon. Thank you for those. I'm sorry, there's enough of a delay. I've configured this for high resolution and not like low delay, so there's probably a good number of seconds between me seeing your chat and then replying. And I'm slow to look at it anyway, so I apologize. It must be extraordinarily frustrating. There was another glonk on my phone telling me that something has been marked as in service, and oh no, that's just NTP doing its thing. So it should be now in business. And if we just double check let's double check by hitting this button. Hooray! Okay, so now it's working again in the back end, and I need to now mark it as not being scaling protected. So we've just undone what would have normally happened by the script if it had actually worked instead of, failed miserably. So I think I probably need to configure these machines with more disk space. How much disk space have we got free here? Yeah, 1 gig, and it's those Docker files just pile up, and then it's like the base image changes and the whole thing has to be redone. Yeah, I just throw away all of the intermediate images and start again. So we have done an update. Now, of course, the real reason for this was for us to see whether or not that PEG-STL thing worked or not. So let's go and see. Let's see if we got it right. Meanwhile, of course, it would have been quicker to have waited for the synchronization to have run locally. I am going to see if, yes. So let's have a look in the PEG-STL. That has now finished, and we have 2.8.0 and trunk. Hooray! So libraries, there we go. Do we have PEG-STL somewhere in here? Somebody who knows the alphabet may be able to see it quicker than I can. I don't see it. Why are you not in there? PQR, right? These look like they're in alphabetical order. So that's a sad outcome for all of this. So we've done all of this work and it doesn't actually work. So now to debug this. Why did this not work? Well, hopefully, and this is another sort of example of you should really test it before you push it anywhere, even if it is the beta site of something, the staging, the UAT site. Has this finished synchronizing locally? It sort of has. This is looking for CMake. Oh, it hasn't. Golly. I'm going to cheat. I'm going to cheat so badly. So I happen to obviously have the credentials to log into the admin server, and so I'm going to get its opt compiler explorer libs, and it was pegtl, and I'm going to opt compiler explorer libs pegtl. So I'm just rsyncing it from the remote side, which is exactly the wrong way to do this. This is not a good way to do it, but it'll get me to the point where I can run this locally. So let's have a look. Opt compiler explorer libs. Make sure that pegtl. I got that right. Good. Sometimes you synchronize a directory and it goes into a subdirectory and all that kind of stuff, but I actually got it right this time. Hooray! Hooray for me. Let's go over to all of this stuff. Pegtl, pegtl, pegtl. Did I just typo this up at the top? Am I just a bad person? I fear that may be the case. So I put it on the end of this list, pegtl. It's there, I can see it. Alright. Well, what I'm going to do, so this is the Amazon properties file, and it's not what would by default run locally. Now I have a local properties file here, so anything that is a local.properties will always be loaded in preference to any other named configuration file. That allows me to do stuff and change stuff depending on whether you're on a local machine, whether you're on the Amazon machine, whether you're on like the Win32 version when that was running, all those kinds of things. And the local files also are marked as like git ignore, so you can make your own locals properties and override anything that's in the default configuration if you want. And that's pretty cool. It means that if you have to make a modification to like the defaults, or if you want to monkey with it, you don't have to like forever have your own fork of Compiler Explorer, or forever remember that you've got like this one modification to a file in Compiler Explorer that you need to keep repatching. So just make a local files. What that means though is that I am just going to blanket pick up the whole Compiler Explorer. I'm going to pick up the whole C++.amazon.properties and copy it as my local properties. So I'm basically saying, hey, my local properties are exactly the same as they are on Amazon, and that should just work. Now I am going to do make extra args equals dash dash debug. So Jason there has just said, I thought you made the libraries in a Docker image on the fly. No, that's not true. They're all on a everything that I refer to is now outside of Docker. I build them, a lot of things are built, like all the compilers are built inside Docker images, but then I take the results of that as a tarball and chuck it on S3. For the libraries, I don't usually have to build anything. They're just Git synced, so there's nothing to build, with the exception of some of the more arcane libraries that just need to configure, because I don't want to have a combination explosion of, LLVM library built with GCC 412, with GCC 447, GCC 464, and so on. So that would get into a nightmare, and that will be a problem if I ever support execution, which is a hope, but probably when we do support execution, it won't be against libraries that aren't purely header only. If we do, I don't want to cross that bridge right now anyway. That's something for another time. So anyway, Compiler Explorer is running there. But yeah, anyway, so the Docker images are very, very bare. I don't have very much in them because 250 gig plus Docker images are not fun to manage and to update. It just takes too long to synchronize. It takes too long to put them around. It's a pain. All right, so you can see here, this is Compiler Explorer with debug sort of level running. So it's currently running -- version on all of the compilers, and it's sort of also running -- help and -- help target. That allows it to some extent auto configure itself based on the compilers it finds. And it's interesting. I don't know why it's saying all of those things. Some JSON things not present in storage. That's handy. That must be a feature I've forgotten about, or someone else has added and I don't know about. So let us go to a local web browser. Here we go. So I should be able to go to localhost 102.40 and run the same version that we just pushed to the production. Not production, to beta. Very important distinction. So lovely. What is going on? Why is that? Yeah, that's weird. I know I'm in this sort of zoomed in view as I'm trying to show you what I'm doing without you having to squint too much, but that's a pretty unfortunate set of spacing on the UI when this becomes too small. I'm going to have to change that. That's dreadful. All right, ignoring that for now. pegtl is there. This is interesting to me. I wonder if we are suffering from the phantom, no, that's not the right word, beta, there we go. The phantom, everything is cached by CloudFront forever kind of thing. So the libraries themselves will come from a configuration. I wonder if it'll appear in here now. Now it does. You see, I don't think I reloaded the page properly. Now, caching is, of course, one of the fundamental problems of computer science, as we all know. For obvious reasons, I have the cache turned up to a reasonable amount for these kinds of things, because I just don't want to be hit all the time. I don't want Node serving up all of these kind of metadata requests. But here it bit us, and I could have obviously forced the cache to be non-caching, but it is what it is. So actually everything's fine and everything's working, and that's lovely. So don't worry. PegTL is working. So this whole thing, this whole hour long, as we nearly have been talking, this hour long thing has been, thank you Pantoufel. This whole thing has been a bit of a journey into, oh dear, how sketchy everything is, which is kind of why I am trying to improve the back end. But it's obviously inglorious work. It's not fun. It's not exciting. Oh, what's up, cat? Come here. Meow. Oh, I think she's got something. Yeah, oh, hello. Have you brought me a log? So, the worry was that the cat had brought in something that was dead. Well, that is true. She's the weirdest cat. She loves to bring in bits of twig and wood and stuff. This is actually just a bit of wet branch. It's absolutely hacking it down here. This is our other cat you didn't see earlier. Thank you, Shenzi. Well, an exciting window into my life, right? So, yes, improving this stuff. So it's inglorious, it's not exciting, it's not visible to you as a user of the site, which makes it very hard to get excited about doing it. And partly why I'm live streaming this is to make me more interested in it again and sort of have something to talk about. And maybe for people to go, oh, that looks cool, maybe I can help. But given that I'm happy to keep on going, I might take at least a quick look at what I was supposed to be doing this time. So let's close these things up. Close that up as well. Meow. Very, very wet cat. Come and say hello to everybody. This one's the friendlier cat than the other one. She usually wants to sit with me. This is Shenzi. Alright. Ow. Been hit in the face. So, what were we doing? Oh yeah, let's try and remember where I was going with all of this. So rather than the compiler explorer repository, we're going to go back to the compiler explorer image repository and observe what's going on here. So you saw at least me executing some of those scripts from before. They all live in this update compilers, this terribly named, misnamed thing called update compilers. And so we can see each of these shell script here: install CPP compilers, install D compilers, install, and like, let me show you what one of these looks like. It's pages and pages of nonsense of like, well, this is where it lives on S3, or this is where it lives on the internet, go get it, then untar it and put it over here. And each one is sort of more bespoke than the last, and it's got an annoying, and yeah, where are we? Assembly compilers. Yes, we compile assembly. It's not the case. This is like the NASM. So this one, for example, we actually build them, and we just build them one-off. They're so simple we can get away with building them easily. I don't bother making distributions on this. Yes, cat.log. Yes, cat is complaining about the beta site, you're right. So yeah, I want to replace this with something better. Now, I'm hoping it's better. Like whenever you do any kind of upgrade, one can but hope. The intention here is we're going to have this C install command, which is just a shim that makes sure it runs in the right environment. It ultimately calls down to this C install.py, which has a whole bunch of stuff. So let me kill compiler explorer and go back to the image, although I've got this on my path as well, like that C binary. So C install, and it's just going to list all of the things it can currently install, and they're listed by name, and the name is sort of somewhat hierarchical as well. So I can say, hey, just install all the compilers, or just all the ASM compilers, or just all the C++ compilers, or all of Clang, or stuff like that. Obviously things like binaries and libraries will live in this too. At the moment I have ported a I've added support for and canonicalized the way that I'd like to install the existing C++ compilers, which is the lion's share of compilers. And so I've done most of them, and it's boring, but they're there and they're working. I most recently did the NASM stuff. So NASM now knows how to install itself, which is nice. And I am working on the next thing, and I don't know what the next thing is yet. So some of this stuff is boilerplate and rote. So things like, I'm hoping, let's have a look at installing, say I guess we could start at the beginning. Assembly, binaries, I'm going to do something different with, so I'll come back to that. C compilers. What have we got in C compilers? We've got this PPCI compiler, which is a C compiler written in Python. How cool is that? And I've also got CC65, which is the 6502 installer, which you know is super important compiler. I'm sure you'll all agree. And actually, this looks rather unfortunate. Oh no, I think I've done this. This complicated looking bash script here is actually common. I don't know why I didn't put it in the common file, because writing in bash is difficult, right? And awkward, and it's just easy to copy paste than it is to do something proper. So let's try and get this into the new system. So we're going to make a new YAML file. So YAML is what I'm using to configure the installers, and the installers are written in Python themselves. And why are you complaining? Oh, it thinks it's Python. I think I marked this as Python originally. Alright, well that's nothing we're going to worry about now. Okay, can I have my computer back please? Thank you. So let's have a look at these YAML files. So this is, for example, like, hey, compilers, ASM, NASM, these things are tarballs. Here are some like configuration flags for the tarball installer, some extras like stuff. This is how to run the configuration stuff, and then here are the actual targets. Brilliant. The CPP one is obviously a bit more complicated. There's a lot more going on here, but hopefully you'll see that, like for example, for the common and simple case like GCC that I build myself and I just make sure it's just right. It's just, hey, list all of the things I want you to install. For the cross compilers, there's a bit more work because there are some subdirectories that are named in particular ways. For Clang, it is mostly the case that I just grab again the binaries from the right place. There are some older versions of Clang here that I needed to support, but I can override those. So that's Clang, ELL, CSS. This nightly is has this if concept, so I can say only do this if nightly is true when I'm on the command line. So the nightlies aren't listed over here in the list of compilers unless I do. I can't remember, but I can do -- help, right? Oh, not like just guess or cat the shell file. So I think it's enable nightly. And if I do that, there should be now some nightly compilers that have appeared here. So that's a way of basically turning off like #if-defing out some things. So the nightly compilers, the nightly libraries will be done that way. Oracle DJPPB. So those are the C compilers. Let's write this. Sorry, those are the C++ compilers. Let's make C compilers. So I'm going to make a new file and I'm going to call it c.yaml and add yes compilers. Oh, I'm writing code ish. I'm writing configuration. And I think that's pretty much it, right? I just need compilers in C, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to minimize that. I'm going to maximize this. And I'm going to split the window. Meow. So my cats go outside, as you probably realise, which is not as common as I thought it would be over here in the US. And I have, of course, an Internet of Things cat flap, which tells me when the cats have gone in and out, and it reads their microchip to tell me whether they're, to only let them in and out, and at the schedule that I want. But I also get a notification on my phone when they leave, and I'm saying that, and I can't. There it is, split vertically. Brilliant. And over here we want c.yaml. So we're going to have ppci, and there's going to be some stuff here, and then we're going to have cc65, and this is also going to have stuff, right? That's broadly the sketch of what's going on outside. Yes, that's a fair point. I'm just reading Carol's comment there. Modern DevOps is basically YAML over SSH. It's, yeah, I wish I could even call what I'm doing now DevOps as much as just programmer floundering. I have friends who are professional DevOps people, and you know I should probably take advantage of knowing them more than I do. But there's a part of me that just I want to do it myself, and then I realise that I'm reinventing things that perhaps should be done other ways. Okay, so this PPCI compiler, looking on the right hand side, is a oh, let's put that down something else. That is just a tarball that I need to unpack somewhere, and so this is going to be type tarballs, unfortunately the plural. The compression is something I need to tell it about, and this is GZ, so it knows how to decompress it. It is going to be linked into PPCI dash, and now I support some extraordinarily limited string interpolation. Name is effectively the version in this case. The IDE is being unhelpful to me. It is untarder is the same, so that's the actual directory it untars to. As in, if I untar it, what do I get? I get this file. And where do I actually? So this is like the sort of the source, and this is like the destination name. And in this instance, they will be the same because there's no special dispensation over there. And oh yeah, URL. And then the URL again is I'm going to steal it from over here and paste it and replace $var with name. And then I'm going to write targets, and this is now a list of the version numbers, so 0.5.5. I'm going to get rid of 6065 for now because I can't go more than a few seconds without testing the code I've just written. Code, again, code is data, right? So I am going to do c install and ppci, so I can filter it by an arbitrary string, and let's see what happens. Hooray! Missing required key check exe in this, and see I have somewhat useful error messages. Check exe. So this is an executable it's going to run after it's installed it to make sure it is installed okay. I don't know what that is so far, so I'm just going to put it's false. Is false the command that just fails? Yes, good. I want it to fail, then I'm going to go and look at it afterwards, which is the wrong way. Okay, brilliant. It says permission denied, empty string. Failed to install. Well, I suspect I've done something very silly here. Configuring with empty string. So interestingly, I changed the way check exe works not long before I started the stream. So this is just prior to me fiddling around with the C++ stuff you saw me at the beginning. Yeah, this is problematic. So I probably have broken something, which shows that there was a big hole in my testing. And there are tests for this, just not enough, clearly. So I think my check exe, oh, unless it's come, I reckon that the false string here has been turned into the Python false. So I'm going to just monkeys. That will fail just as well as check install. Did not work. Darn it. Okay. Well, first of all, let's go and see what actually did get unpacked. So there's the PPCI, and it looks like there isn't actually something I can check here because it's a Python thingy. Main.py is there. I wonder, do I have to run this with like Python of that / main.py? Ooh, thunder. No, yeah, see that. To the other project. So obviously we're running this from Compiler Explorer, and Compiler Explorer will know how to run this particular type of compiler. So I guess we're going to get a little bit of a window into how Compiler Explorer does this nonsense. So there is inside lib, we have compilers. These are all the different types of compilers that Compiler Explorer supports. And so the vast majority are just like GCC or similar enough to GCC that you just use GCC, and it just extends the base compiler sort of class that just knows how to do everything. And that's pretty straightforward. But then some of these need hooks, so let's look at Clang. Clang is the base compiler, but with a little bit of tweaking to make some other bits and pieces work nicely for it. I need to now look at PPCI and see how it's running. And so it's running Python 3 and it's setting up the Python path, and it's doing -m ppci. Well, that's more complicated than I would have otherwise wanted, but let's see what we can have. So we're going to run Python 3, and we're going to run -m. No, you see, that's painful. That's more painful than I like. I'm going to punt on this for now and move over to the other IDE, the other copy of the IDE. And for now, the check.exe can just be true with a to-do support the Python execution. We need to ensure it's installed. Okay. Yes, it's horrible. And we're going to move back over to, well, we've still got a problem with the actual installation itself, where it doesn't run the check command correctly. So it says, configuring with blank space. This, yeah, all right, this is something else than I thought. I'm going to go to installation.py. And in here there is an optional configuration. Come on, IDE, catch up. Configuring with, there it is. So there's this. Actually, it's not, strictly speaking, that's not. This is any staging command. So we're going to say staging with that. And we'll see who calls stage command. And it should be something which says if self.configure command. Now, what I'm imagining is that this is not as empty a string as I would like, because I think what we do is we parse it out and turn it into Python's like execution is expecting a sequence of args to pass to the operating system, and one of those args, the default isn't like an empty string, and so the empty string gets split into, well, what is it? I think it's something daft. Let's have a look at what. So I'm just going to say string dot split on white space, and if I could type it out. Yes, so instead of it being an empty array, it is an array of a single empty string. So that's why the if check here is perceived as truthy. So I shouldn't do that. So the default value is up here for a configure command. So this is actually for a command that I'm not specifying but should have an empty default. And I'm going to change the empty default from a string, which would then be split, to just an empty pair of braces, which should now be non-truthy. Falsy. Drum roll. Okay, that's better. Moving from staging to final destination decimal error. Installed OK, but doesn't appear as installed after. So that means it was trying to check if the installation was successful, and it failed, which means that my apparent hack to get the installation thing passing, the one where I put the to-do on, true, that did not work. So I need to write something else here, and that could be, well, actually I'm not sure why this isn't working. I'm going to run -debug here. Executing, oh, of course, because it's expecting the command I'm passing it to be relative to the installation directory, and there isn't anything there. That's a pain. Is there anything we can run, rather shockingly? Staging. Oh, it's an empty directory now. It's gone. It looks like this is going to need a bit more support. This is the problem, trying to do this kind of stuff without really getting a good audit of what I needed before I started the project. Sort of making things up as I go along. I'm going to go back over to the real installation on the admin node. This, oh, for what it's worth, this /opt directory is a network share that's shared with all of the other nodes that run. So that's how I transport the compilers between nodes. And opt compiler explorer. And what are we going to do here? We're going to look for what's this thing called? PPCI. There it is. Is there anything that can be executed in there? Find dash type exec, is that right? E? Or is it just exec? Oh, it would be nice to remember how commands work, wouldn't it? Matches for dash executable. Lazy. Alright, only, of course, directories here. Well, isn't that a shame? I'm going to have to do something hacky here. So I'm going to make that /bin/true, which clearly is still not going to work because it's still going to put it's still going to prepend the directory name. So if I do this again, no, oh, I've lost myself here. It's still going to fail. Oh no, it's smart enough to know that if I forgot what I did here, I was smart enough. If it's got a full path, fully qualified path, it's going to support and be okay. Now, obviously this isn't actually right because it isn't installed. So that actually, I wonder if I need to do man test. Yeah. All right. I need to do something here. Test d. Oh blast! I really am going to have to use Python here, aren't I? I appreciate this is bin true, but bin true. So yeah, the reason that bin true isn't working here is because the first thing I do is I run the check and go, oh, it must already be installed because the check passes, so it will never install it if it's bin true. It needs to be something that's dependent on the thing that it installs. So thank you for your thoughts there, but yeah, this is going to be a little bit more work, and I think what I'm probably going to do is just finish this thing up and then call it a day. And I think I'm going to have to do something like this. So we're going to do user bin, which Python 3? Where does this usually live? User bin Python 3, that works for me. That should work for most of the things, at least to start with. And then what are the commands we're going to have to pass it? We're going to actually give it oh, unless I do bash -c here. Yeah, okay, we're going to do or env Python path equals oh, this is not going to work either, I don't think, because I need to know where it's going to be installed, and that is not something which is trivial at the point this is run. Alright, I'm going to call time on this for now, as I've been whittering away long enough and need to have a bit of a break, and I'm sure most of you have been bored beyond your tolerance for this stuff. But I'm clearly going to have to think of something clever for the check.exe for this, and maybe that will mean putting in explicit Python support, which wouldn't be too hard. There you see, I'm calling it here, but no, let's get this working. There's nothing more irritating than leaving something hanging. As much as having an exciting cliffhanger like this would be, and I'm sure, a lot of fun for everybody, but I am going to very quickly, famous last words, try and come up with a special case for Python installations here. So what would we want this to do? Let's see if I can get a command over here. So I'm going to turn this into bin false for now. Then I'm going to install. And it's going to fail because it installed it, it thought, but then it's bin false is still falsy. But it should mean I'm left with this here. Hurrah! Okay, so we have it in this directory. Oh, thank you for being, yeah, Python path equals path2. That's what I'm effectively going to have to do, but the problem is the Python path is not determined yet. I actually run this in like a staging directory, which is unavailable to like the command line as it currently stands. But I'm going to try and work this out. So we're going to do, yeah, exactly env Python path equals that nonsense, ppci, I think, minus m ppci. Oh, no, Python 3, no module name ppci. So back to the other IDE, and what is this thing doing? It is saying -m ppci name, and Python path is this. Oh, maybe I don't need that trailing bit there. Is that what I need to do? Or is it Python path without an underscore? I forget these things. Alright, that's what we wanted. Can I get that? Brilliant. That's what I need it to run. Python path with no thingamajigs. And then the thing I need to now do is fill in this directory here, which is something that is not currently available. So I'm going to find magic up a way to make that available. Gosh, I am getting lost in my alt tabs here. I'm going to steal the whole of that command for now. Thank you for your patience, everyone. And I'm going to paste that in. Now, I'm going to do env python path equals that, python 3, and you know, it would ideally be better if I didn't have to duplicate this with the actual compiler explorer configuration itself, but that's in a separate project and I don't want to tie them together. So this is the bit we need to work out what we're going to do with. So this will trivially work, or at least it should do now. If I run the installer, it should say, hey, this is already installed. Where's my debug line? There it is. One failed installation. Okay, so what did it say? File not found for this, python path equals that. Oh, because I need to give it a full path to env. Which env is it? I'm sure it's in /bin. Oh, it's user bin. Sure, user bin env. So that works, but it works because I've hard-coded the path, and I really don't want to. I can obviously put -name in here, but that still hard codes this part of the path. So I'm going to go and make sure that this works properly. So where is the check exe thing all done in here? So check call equals that, and ospath join nonsense 0 command config. I don't think I even do. Oh, I do interpolation there. So it does do interpolation, but I need to think about where this check call is being called from. Check call, and I think it just literally executes that. And in the moment, it just hard codes the path underscore name, which is a particular thing. Yeah, this is a point where clearly a more general approach would have been better. At the moment, there's a very special case with the zeroth argument, which kind of gets path components bolted onto the front of it to sort of say, hey, this is where you're actually going to be running from, and that's not particularly glorious. Partly that's because the defaults are dependent on other flags that you might have put, and the path of the path that we've accrued so far, so there's not an obvious place to put this. Config get. So config get is the magic here, but really, oops, all of the yeah, you can see here are the tests, for example. All of this stuff here doesn't have any special knowledge of like paths or how paths are built up, because the basic configuration system that I've come up with here, with these kind of like overlapping and different like hierarchies of configuration is independent of the particular use case that we have here. The only thing it has is that this targets is magic and special. Everything else, and the if statement is special. So I can test all that stuff without having to know about how to install anything, and that's just a nice thing to be able to do. But it does mean that the things that are specific to installation are difficult to test, and in fact untested. There's a question that's come up in the chat here. What is the purpose of the Docker file in the misc directory in the compiler explorer repo? Is that the base repo? Let me go and see what you mean. There's definitely a misc in the compiler explorer image. I will just go and have a quick look to see if there is such a thing in the compiler explorer repo. Apparently my internet is slow right now. It can't be that slow because you're listening to me. Yeah, okay, there's no misc there. I'm going to assume, Carol, you mean the one that's in here. So this guy is the one that is they build this CC65, which is the 6502 compiler that is extremely important, and anything else that I can think of. So I think, yeah, at the moment it's just CC65. There's nothing else going on here, but anything that doesn't really fit into the pattern of Clang or GCC, and therefore could benefit from all of the sort of framework that is inside the GCC or GCC cross directory, like how to patch various things, different configurations. It turns out GCC over the ages, especially if you want to build back in time, is very much a work in progress. You have to tweak it a little bit to get it to build with modern compilers and things like that. So I build all the way back to GCC 127 with these patches. So I should probably do some 2s and 3s in there, but I haven't had the wherewithal to do so. Okay, so that none of that sadly has gotten me any closer to a conclusion about how to get this installation thing working. So I wonder if we can do something cleverer. There is sort of one global variable that we have available to us when we're running the executable, and that is the current working directory, right? So if we set the current working directory when we execute the command to be the place where we've just installed everything, then we can do stuff path relative to that, and then that should just work. And that doesn't seem too unreasonable to me. And it means I don't have to come up with some special extra magic thing. It's just, hey, well, you know, we start from the directory you installed in. I think I can square that with myself. So then I think that means that we can just make this Python path equals dot, and then or we make it the staging directory. That's even better. So then I can just make this whatever that was, and it will be ppci dash name. So now we just make sure that the CWD. Oh, I put the caps lock key in. For some reason, my custom configuration for caps lock keeps getting lost by Ubuntu. I like to have it as an extra shift key of sorts that is not supported by the standard Ubuntu setup, and I use xmodmap for that. And very sadly, it keeps getting stolen. So check call, check call, check call. Who all is using that? And I rue the day that I called it check exe in one place and check call in another. Okay, check output. Install context check output, and check output is over here. No, that's clearly not what I meant. You know that. Check output over up earlier in the context, and self.destination args 0. And so I am just going to put in here CWD equals self.destination. Thank you. Okay. Drum roll. Well, that's unfortunate. So we've got an error for that. The error, no module name ppci. So whether or not I am executing %s args, it says here. So we should be able to see where it says that executing user bin r blah mppci, all of that nonsense. So why in self.destination. I'm not quite sure where I've used the old style logging format here, but in the image report, yeah, okay, sorry Carol, yeah, again, we're sort of out of phase by about 4 minutes here. So it said it was going to be executing in opt compiler explorer. So that's not what I meant at all. Presumably, yeah, of course, this is actually done in the final destination location, so that is actually okay, I think. But this is where each of the various installers has already concatenated a bit more to the front of it, so that's sort of annoying. I think I'm going to have to pass this in directly to this check call. Oh, that's the special sound that my wife makes when she texts me. She's probably texted me to laugh. Oh no, she works at the local zoo. She's just texted me some pictures of the giraffes that she's observing right now, which are super cool. Oh, and some other birds and things. It's lovely to get photographs of things like this. A reminder that nature is out there, African nature, as it turns out, in downtown Chicago. But nevertheless. Well, I guess we know if we're gonna be at the destination directory, we do know that we're going to be in ppci dash name. Oh no, that should work, right? That is the right location. Why did you not work then? Alright, I'm going to call that something else for a second. You get exposed to all the best kinds of debugging tips here. User bin, no, which ls? Bin ls, of course it, bin ls. No, that one. Yeah, I'm thinking about using pwd. Thank you, leadad888. Okay. And we know that it was going to do ppci-name, and that would be there. So obviously it needs the full path, or we're going to try that. Exactly as you said there, and see if that works. Maybe Python needs it to be a full path, or maybe that just doesn't work. Let's try seeing what we get if we just do a bin echo. Oh, this is tedious, isn't it? User bin echo, or is it bin echo? Which echo? Which echo? Bin echo. And then, because I've got a sneaking suspicion that doesn't work the way that I would like it to. Yeah, there's no interpolation here. But now we're going to have to, layer on yet another layer of nonsense, where we use bin bash, -c, and then all of this, which just seems wrong. Very wrong. We compose key coming up, but we're going to get it working, and then we're going to see if we can square it with ourselves as being okay. So mppci Python 3. Okay, and this is just me check xc and kill him. Is that success? It could be success. It looks like it was success. It's not glorious. I don't like it. I don't love it at all. Do I care enough to fix it for this? No. No, but I still don't like it. I'm gonna leave it for now because this has gone on long enough. But let's just make sure if I actually removed it and then reinstalled it, it would work. One package is installed okay. There's another command I support called verify, which effectively just unpacks it somewhere else and then diffs to make sure it was unpacked okay. One not okay. Oh, because PyCache. Oh, get out of it. Alright, well that's definitely a problem for a future mat to look at, because I am now an hour and a half into my hour-long stream. I have accomplished not very much, but there is a small amount of progress here. So I'm going to just write to do cc65 there. We're going to get this checked in. It's not egregiously broken, and we've made some improvements. So let's just make sure the tests run. They do pass. Okay, so all we're going to say this is, and then as a final thing, if you want to hang around just for the last bit, I'm going to do a live site update to, now we know that the beta site works okay. We're going to update it for production, which is not very exciting, and you basically can see, you know what's going to, the shape of it. And we're going to say, you can, there's fish shell auto-completing some of the more dreadful things that happened earlier today with me battling CMake and Conan and Travis. Git commit -m. What have we done here? Okay, we started adding C compilers, and what do we fix? Okay, I can't remember what I did, so we're going to have a look. And I use meld for this. Okay, we changed a line there. Okay, that's just miscellaneous fixes. This is one of those horrible things, isn't it? So I'm going to git add, git commit -m. Minor fixes to defaults and logging, and that's bin lib installation.py. Thank you. And I should be able to yank this one back here. Started editing C compilers. Yes. Git status, git pull. Yes. Python don't write bytecode. That's not bad, but I mean the actual compiler explorer itself will probably end up writing stuff to that as well. So I'm probably going to teach the differ to be a bit smarter about this in general. The verify step fails for a number of other reasons on other thingamajigs. Minus B, yeah, that's an easy fix actually. I will do that right now. So thank you for that. That at least gives me a start point for this. Let's make sure that minus B is what. Oh, don't write PyC. Yes, thank you. Yes, I will do that. That seems like a no-brainer to do that right now. Ideally, I'd like to mount the Compiler Explorer drive read-only as well on the nodes, so they eventually will probably stop writing to it too. So what do we? Yes, I have. So git add dot git dash dash amend. So I haven't pushed that yet, so nobody. It's just you and I little secret that we briefly didn't do that. Test. Push. Okay, so that's that done. Hooray! So like as promised now, just to finish this up, I'm going to do CE builds list. And so just to, we have had a new build since then, but I'm never going to, I say never, I should never deploy something which I haven't actually run and tested in beta, because no matter how innocuous the change, it almost always breaks down when you do that. So I know that 40038 is good. So I'm going to take that from the beta and I'm going to say CE-n prod build set current that number 4038. So prod master, there's my do's, and then n prod instances restart. So Compiler Explorer, you can hit it now and see if you think it's working or not. Well, you see, this is what normally happens: is I start doing, I do this because I know it takes forever, and then I go away and make a cup of tea or something, which I'm tempted to do right now, as I'm desperate for another cuppa. But then I forget to type in these 4 digits and press enter. Digits, letters, very important distinction. So now you're going to get to see a little bit more about what happens here in the as things go into like standby, and provided everything just works, which it ought to, we shouldn't have any disk space woes here. This should hopefully be the 60% of the time where it works, 100% of the time, as was said earlier. And we can probably watch that over in, if I bring this up, whoops, and bring up AWS in here again. Now it's signed me out everywhere else. I wish I could just bring up AWS and say, if I'm already signed in, carry on. Otherwise, don't kick out all of the other AWSs that I'm signed into. Let's look at EC2. We have 4 running instances right now, which comprise the admin node, the 2 production nodes. One is the one I pay for just to be around all the time, this T3 medium, good old faithful. Then there's a C5 large here, which is a much more powerful machine and would usually be prohibitively expensive, but it's part of a spot instance that I asked for, so I bid on it. Somewhere down here it says, you can see my embarrassing names of like my blog is the IM role. Should really fix it at some point. Somewhere in here, I'm sure it tells me about the type of node that it is. I don't know. Well, it's a spot request. So I say I'm only prepared to pay some small amount. And in fact, we'll go and find out what it is. But rather than using the console, I will go into jcompiler image, and then no image. Auto jump is, by the way, what I'm using to get that J command. It's just like go to the directory what looks a bit like the thing I'm typing, because I'm too lazy to remember where it really is on my computer. It's definitely recommended. It works on pretty much every shell going. So inside my Terraform, why don't I open it up in the IDE? That would be nicer, wouldn't it? Compile Explorer image, update compilers, Terraform. Here we go. In here we should be able to see where, no, that's the admin node. I don't know where I put these instances. Somewhere in here I've got like a bid amount. Is it in the auto scaling group? Min size, max size. Spot prod. Oh, is it in here? you know what, I really wish I could remember where everything lived with this stuff. Let's just do the big old grep for spot. See if we can find where it is. See, obviously, there we go, local spot price, this type of thing. So this is in LC. Oh, of course it's in that launch configurations. How silly of me to have forgotten. So the local spot price here, these are all defined up here. So these are like the image IDs that I occasionally change. That's like the base image itself of the virtual machines that get fired up in Amazon. There is a single piece of user data which is supplied to the beta instances so they can discriminate and know that they are beta and not the normal regular production nodes. So they live. This is like the base 64 encoded word beta, and then apparently I'm bidding 5 cents an hour for those C5 machines, which, like the comment says, historically we pay somewhere in the region of 3.5 cents an hour for the bigger instance, which is great. So most of the requests hit that, and to be honest, I'm probably just going to go, at some point I'm just going to have to accept it, get rid of that T3 medium and just go completely with spot instances, because it's daft to have 2 different tiers. It's sort of random which one you're going to end up on. But dovetailing with some work that I hope to announce tomorrow or later in the week is maybe a way that I'm going to change the way I run the compilers entirely, which will mean maybe I can do something smarter still. So anyway, those are those things running, and let's go over to here. So one of them has actually already changed around, and Partouf's funny comment here, we know now that everything is awesome on one of the nodes. That means it stopped and it restarted, and it's now running the newer version, and we were able to ping it and detect that it was actually returning healthy. That meant that we could take it out of standby. It joins the quorum of machines again. The load balancer will start sending traffic to it. So at the moment we're in a kind of split brain where, depending on which node you hit, you get routed to, you'll get either the old version or the new version. This is a slightly dangerous time, especially as CloudFront blurs everything a bit more by caching some of the results. But you know, it works. And, oh, group prod needs to be adjusted to keep enough notes. So I think my phone is going to beep again in a second and tell me. Oh. Apparently no polar bears today at the zoo, according to my wife. Okay. You just create an issue and have code ready to be merged. Thank you. I'm great. I'm glad to hear that, Carol. Oh, more things. At some point, I'm going to have to go back to my actual real life and see what all these messages are that aren't AWS pinging me about these things. So here, what's happened is that because we wanted to restart the one and only node that was in production in the medium group, T3 medium group, the scripts are smart enough to say, well, we should just start up a whole new instance, because if we take this one out of production, there's a chance that the whole site will go down. If we, for example, lose the bid on the C5 large, that will go away, and if we don't have any nodes left, then everyone's going to cry. So it's now actually adding a new instance in. If I refresh this thing up here, we should probably see it's a new prod thing starting. Yeah, this one initializing. And that will start up, and it will already be in the new version, because it will start up and be the new version. It never knows about the old version. And then eventually, once things are running, and then the old system here, this T3 medium, is also brought up to date, it will bring the number of instances back down to 1, which means that one of them will eventually be killed off, and it's usually the old faithful one that gets killed off, which is kind of sad. You know, these things don't live very long these days. How long has this one been running? I'm terrible for anthropomorphizing everything, I'm afraid, so I'm trying not to say he, she, or they all the time for these things, because they're computers. When did it start? April 30th. Okay, so it's been running for 5 whole hours. Oh, I don't feel so bad about killing that. Whereas the admin node here has been running for much longer. Look at that, June 5th. It's almost coming up to his first birthday. Oh, I might have to just recycle it before then, otherwise I will get attached to it. I think it's wrong that one should, throw these things away. I'm rather sentimental. Anyway, on that bombshell, I think I really am done, because I need a cup of tea like nothing else. Anyone who is currently talking to me in the chat about bugs that they are raising or whatever, feel free to grab me on the CPP Lang Slack, or DM me on Twitter, or email me, matt@godbolt.org, or any of the above to like finish these things out. I'd be delighted to help you. I'm going to be hanging around here for another couple of hours before I pop out for the evening. So I'm intending on continuing working on some of these things, and maybe tidying up some of the things that were more dreadful. I do appreciate you watching, and I appreciate the comments. It's been a really interesting experience. I will hopefully get better at looking at the darn comments. Just one day from retirement. Yeah, I wish. Actually, ironically, one of the text messages I received was, "How's retirement?" As I am currently in between jobs, which is why I'm doing this kind of stuff right now. But we'll see. So thank you again for watching. Thank you for the comments. I'll probably be doing this again later in the week. Afternoons seem to work better. Today's a good day because my wife's not around to throw sarcastic comments at me from behind, and the kids are not yet home from school, so this is bigger. So thank you again for watching, and if you want to be notified for this, subscribe to the channel if you aren't already, and we'll do it again sometime soon. Bye for now. I say that, now I've got to find out the app to stop it. There it is. Okay. Really, bye for now.